Hey mama, if you're listening to this, you might be carrying a secret that feels too heavy to speak out loud. You look like you got it all together, you serve at church, maybe you even lead a Bible study. You smile when you drop off the kids, but no one sees the other side of you, the one that comes out behind closed doors. At home, you are a completely different person. You yell, you explode, you scream at your kids, sometimes in their face. You tell them to shut up. You grab them too harshly. You throw things across the room. You smack them in anger, twist their ears, spank them in rage, and immediately after, you are hit with a tidal wave of shame. You cry alone in your room and you whisper, "God, what is wrong with me?" You feel scared and disgusted by your own reactions. You're terrified that someone might find out. You wonder if your kids would be better off without you. You feel unworthy, broken, and too far gone to be redeemed. You try to fix this on your own. You listen to podcasts, parenting books, download freebies, but nothing changes. You keep falling back into the same patterns, and it feels like you are stuck in a cycle that you can't break. You don't trust yourself anymore, and if you're honest, you are afraid of who you become. But here's the truth, Mama. You are not beyond hope. You're not alone, and with God's help and the right support, you can change. I'm Elizabeth, a mom of 4 and an anger management coach for Christian moms. And inside my Calm Christian Mom coaching program, I guide women just like you through a powerful transformation. This isn't shallow behavior management. We go deep. We address your triggers, your stress, your mindset, your nervous system, and the spiritual root behind your patterns. We invite God into every layer and walk hand in hand towards healing. In just 12 weeks, you can become a completely different mom, unrecognizable. One who leads with patience, not panic. One whose children feel emotionally safe around her. One who cultivates peace. This summer, I'm offering a Calm Mama strategy session, a powerful 15-minute one-on-one coaching session designed to help you uncover the root of your anger and receive spiritual, emotional, and practical support. It's your chance to experience what coaching is like with me before diving deeper into ongoing support. If we both feel like the full program is the next right step, we can talk about what that looks like for you. You don't have to keep living like this. Your family is worth healing, and so are you. Use the link in the show notes to book the Calm Mama strategy session. Do you find yourself extremely irritated and easily triggered with your family, with your kids during PMS week? Maybe you notice that you have hormone struggles and things just feel very unbalanced. Well, in today's podcast episode, I invited Leisha Drews to come over and talk to us about holistic hormone health. She is a holistic hormone coach for moms and is passionate to empower women to understand their bodies and cycles so they can thrive in the beautiful lives that they have been given. She is also a mom of 3 and has a wonderful podcast called Happily Hormonal. And I am part of her coaching program, Nourish Your Hormones, and I thought she would be a wonderful guest to invite to my podcast. And we will be talking about mood swings and how hormones affect our irritability levels and frustration levels and just feeling moody. Because this is up my alley and I really like to talk about this topic and I want to support you in the best way possible. And I also understand that sometimes it's not the practical things that I teach you. Sometimes it's not mindset. Sometimes it's hormones. And that's why I invited Leisha. And maybe you have mama in your circle that has shared with you that she struggles with hormones in her 30s and she wants to learn how to balance it naturally. Share this podcast episode with her because I know it will also support her as well. I want you to welcome Leisha to the podcast. Hi, Leisha. Welcome to Emotionally Healthy Legacy Podcast. I am so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I know we're going to have lots of fun talking about hormones today.
Yes, yes, yes. So please share with me something that you've been loving lately. It could be anything.
So, the first thing that comes to mind is I've been loving my garden. And that is not because I'm some fancy gardener. I'm just learning. And I think this is my fifth year of learning, but it's turned out better this year than it ever has before. And I have more space for it. So I've just been really loving. I go outside in the morning with my two little boys who are early risers, and we go check on the garden and we find some squash or a tomato or something. And it's just so fun, so exciting. And it's really just been a great way for us to like connect and kind of start our morning slow. So that's my favorite summer thing right now.
Oh, I love that. I think it like almost forces you to slow down
Hmm.
and to even like when you are planting things and when you're watering the garden and finding the vegetables or whatever, it just forces you to slow down and be slow and be present. And I
Hmm.
love that. And I got myself a necklace. I'm not wearing it right now, but it says be slow
Yeah.
just to help me slow down throughout my day because I have that tendency to just go, 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 rush, 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 rush. And I need to remind myself, Elizabeth, slow down, be slow,
Hmm.
be slow. And it's like a reminder for me. So I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself, who you are, who do you help, and a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so I am Leisha Drews. I am a registered nurse and a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. And all of that has translated into me being a holistic hormone coach for moms. And I have three kiddos. My husband and I have three kiddos together. My oldest is a girl and she is 9, almost 10. She'll be 10 at the end of the summer. So kind of bittersweet for me, makes it feel like we're kind of like moving into a new era. And then my little boys are 6 and 2.5. And I am homeschooling them. And so I'm home with them most of the time. I work from home. We get to spend a lot of time together. And I help women, specifically moms, simplify hormone balance. So get out of all the weeds of overcomplicating things and get back to really truly what your body needs, the ingredients needed to make hormones well and to detox hormones well. I teach about that on my podcast and then through my program, which is Nourish Your Hormones. So that is how I help moms.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And your podcast is called Happily Hormonal. So if you
Yes.
don't listen to the very end of the show, I want you to know that Leisha has a wonderful resource for you. And it's a podcast called Happily Hormonal. So you're here to talk about holistic hormone health in moms. Specifically, I invited you to talk about how hormones affect our mood and irritability levels, because that's what we talk about a lot on this podcast: anger, feeling irritable, frustrated, and how to overcome that and support yourself. So, tell me a little bit, how did you get to where you are today? How did you become a hormone coach for moms?
So I started out working in the hospital as a nurse right out of high school. I went to pre-nursing, then went to nursing school, and I always knew that I wanted to help people. I was always really interested in how the body works, and so nursing felt like a really great fit. I also love the flexibility with the schedule because I very much like to be free and like do my own thing and have adventures. And so nursing felt like a good fit for me. And I spent almost 10 years in the hospital. And through that time in the hospital, really went through becoming a mom and starting to kind of really understand my body better, starting to understand that there were kind of some things that weren't being addressed in the medical system. There were answers outside of the medical system for our health. And so we started with a journey into more holistic health as a family with my daughter. When she was little, there were some symptoms that she was having that I kept being told were like, oh, it's fine. She can just take this medication. And she was 2. And I was just like, this is not it. This is not for her. She's a baby. She's not going to be sick. I refuse. We're going to find answers. And that mama bear that came out in me, I was able to kind of like translate back to myself as I noticed throughout time that I was having irregular cycles, hormonal acne, hormonal migraines, definitely some PMS. I went on and off of birth control several times as I was getting married and then like just trying things out, figuring it out for myself. I went to my first gynecologist appointment before we got married. And I was like, is there like a natural way to, do birth control? I don't really want to take medicine. And she's like, oh, honey, that doesn't work. And that was the answer that I got. And I was, who knows? I mean, I was like 20, 21. I think I was 21 when I got married. And so I was like, okay, like you must be right. You're the doctor. And that's not me now, but that was me in that moment. And there's so much that I learned, so much that I learned. I was able to, throughout time, as I started to get answers for my daughter and answers for myself, I noticed and really started to believe that the way we're nourishing our bodies, the way we're living has a huge impact on how we feel and how our health is showing up in our bodies. And that seems very obvious, but it wasn't obvious to me all the time. And so long story short, those 10 years in the hospital really just left me with some questions. And I noticed that as I was really starting to change my health, there was so much I wanted to share. And the hospital wasn't the place to do it. I didn't have enough time. I was running around taking care of multiple patients, or if I had only a couple of patients, they were super sick. This was not the time to help those people have long-term health versus just keep them alive during my shift. And so that's where I really started to research, like, where can I go into nutrition? How can I help people before they get to the hospital? And as I got my functional diagnostic nutrition certification, I started working with really kind of anyone, families. I loved working with kids. And I found that the way that I had the most impact was when I worked with moms, because when moms change their health, they change their family's health. And so I really started to focus on moms and hormones and fertility, postpartum, the whole spectrum of this, this time of our lives where we have a cycle, where we're in the thick of it with motherhood, and we need things to be simple and we need real hope and real answers. And so that's the story of why I'm here.
Yes, it's interesting how oftentimes every time I speak to a person that became a coach, they went through something that affected them, that brought them to be who they are today, some of the struggles that they faced. And I mean, that's how I became a coach as well, struggling with some feeling irritable and reactive with my family. And I had moments of rage where I would, scream and yell and react in ways that I felt very remorseful and regretful over. And I knew that that's not who I wanted to be, which leads me to the next question, is that a lot of women experience a lot of irritability and frustration the week before their cycle or the PMS week, even to the point where they just don't even feel like themselves. And I feel like I had that for a while. It's much, much better now. It's so mild compared to what it used to be. But I definitely noticed there is I feel like there's a level of like agitation and frustration. It becomes my baseline. There's a few days before my cycle. Like my baseline is normally calm and peaceful, but when it's the week before my cycle, I have a few days where it's just like my baseline is just like I am mildly frustrated and agitated, and a lot more things just can easily push me over the edge. So, can you please explain how hormones play into that? Or maybe it's just we're all making it up and it's all in our head. Maybe our husbands are saying, oh, you're just over exaggerating. You just know it's the week before your cycle and you're just saying it because, it's there. It's an excuse. So help us understand, how do hormones really work and how that plays into our mood and frustration and irritability levels.
So that makes me laugh, talking about our husband saying, like, maybe you're just using this as an excuse, or like you're just, deciding that you want to be grumpy this week.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that all of us as women can kind of laugh at that, because if a husband is saying that to us, obviously the husbands have never had a cycle. There's a lot of things that they haven't experienced, and we feel things differently. So that is my first little note there. Just like, as women, we feel things differently, but there is absolutely science and hormones and neurotransmitters that change throughout our cycles. So our bodies are different. We are not the same person in every phase of our cycle. Now, I want to just establish a fundamental belief that I have before I answer this question. And that is that we will change throughout our cycle, But the changes, if they are like a roller coaster, if you're just up and down, really big changes, really big mood swings, you're super high, you're super low, you're super tired, then you have super energy, like, or you're just kind of feeling low all the time, that is not normal. And there is something going on that your body is telling you needs to be supported. So I just want to establish that as a baseline. Now, within that, there is a spectrum of symptoms that can be related to PMS. And what I really truly believe is a healthy cycle is basically no PMS. So I will say that. And that's what I teach in Nourish Your Hormones is how to get there, how to nourish your body, to create those ingredients that you need to make hormones well, to create the ingredients to detox hormones well, so that you are at that point where PMS is a distant memory for you. Now, with that being said, there are very clear reasons why we would have PMS. And so some of those reasons are, I'll just do a quick little overview of what happens in your cycle. But when you are on your period, you're going to be at the lowest levels of estrogen and progesterone, which are both of your female hormones. So that's going to be a super low hormone time. Typically, it can be maybe you feel a little more introverted, maybe a little bit less social energy, physical energy in that first week of your cycle. Then going into week 2 of your cycle, you have a big spike in estrogen. Estrogen is the hormone that helps prepare your uterine lining for a potential pregnancy. It helps increase cervical fluid so that you can get pregnant. It tells that egg to mature. It triggers the other hormones that are needed for that egg to mature and for you to actually ovulate. So that estrogen gets in there, starts doing some work. And we actually have, with an increase in estrogen, we have an increase in dopamine. So that increase in dopamine can be really helpful for mood. This is a time in our cycles where we are the most fertile. So, God has created our bodies to crave pregnancy, whether or not we emotionally crave it or not. Our bodies are always looking to reproduce. And so our mood is going to be more social, libido is higher during that week. And that is because of that estrogen rising, and it directly affects dopamine. And then right after ovulation happens, estrogen drops off directly or like very sharply, and progesterone takes over within about 24 hours. And progesterone is more of a calming hormone. Progesterone is what keeps you pregnant. If you do get pregnant, it increases your metabolism, your thyroid function. It's like the comfort hormone essentially. And so progesterone sometimes gets a bad name because it's like, oh, well, progesterone is the dominant hormone in my PMS week, so progesterone must be the problem. That's not necessarily the case. It's usually dysregulation of estrogen, but it just happens to be in that time frame when estrogen isn't supposed to be dominant. So progesterone can be much more of like a calming hormone, pro-metabolism, and really good for blood sugar balance as well. And so that takes over until right before your next period starts. And within that, there's also a little spike of estrogen again in that last few days before your cycle. And then everything drops off 1 to 2 days before you start to bleed again. And that's what triggers that next bleed. And so I want you to have that foundation because estrogen specifically does affect our neurotransmitters. And when estrogen is out of balance, when you're not making it well or detoxing it well, we can see symptoms. And so I typically see symptoms when estrogen and progesterone are not in range with each other. And that triggers multiple things in our body. It can trigger inflammation. It can trigger or detoxification. And so if you have estrogen that is hanging around when it shouldn't be dominant in your cycle anymore, then that is going to cause a lot of those PMS symptoms. And so it can be the mood swings, the irritability, those mood symptoms you're talking about. And it can also be physical symptoms like breast tenderness, hormonal acne, cramping, bloating, things before your cycle. So those are all signs that your body is out of balance. Now, that's all really helpful to know, but the real question is why, right? Like, why would that be out of balance? Why is this causing me mood symptoms? Mood symptoms typically, like they can be by themselves or they can be with physical symptoms during your period too. But so much of the time, it goes back to that concept I've mentioned already. Your body doesn't have the ingredients it needs to make those hormones well, or to get rid of the extra hormones that aren't needed in a certain part of the cycle. And that goes back to nourishment, getting enough food, getting the right foods, getting the right consistency, balancing your blood sugar. Blood sugar imbalance is one of the biggest causes of irritability and fatigue. And even if it's fatigue, that's kind of like the root cause for you or the root symptom for you, because it's not the root cause, fatigue will make you irritable Because if you're already tired and you're already overwhelmed, every single thing that someone asks you to do is like totally just can trigger you in a second, right? If you're like, I already am at capacity. And so when we start to go back to those root causes of missing nutrients, low minerals, not detoxing well, those things can all directly lead to mood imbalances through the estrogen and progesterone and neurotransmitter funnels.
Yeah, you explained that so well. And for me, it is still like the progesterone and estrogen. It's still all confusing to me. But for me, it's like, okay, tell me what I need to do step by step to balance my sugar levels, to, balance my hormones. What do I need to do? So I don't necessarily need all the explanation behind it, but I know some people do. It's interesting to understand that my brain is like, okay, this is off. Tell me what I need to do to fix it. And that's why you created a step-by-step process, Nourish Your Hormones. And I am also part of that program just so I can learn this information and to better myself and to support myself. And so I can also, I've been referring clients to you as well because it overlaps a little bit with some of the things that I teach with stress management and taking care of yourself. It's that important because oftentimes women do struggle with their hormones in their 30s and it starts to go crazy. It's because we haven't done things to support ourselves in our 20s. And then after we have kids, a lot of things just go a little bit out of whack and we're just too busy, or we say we're too busy to take care of ourselves. And priorities need to shift and things need to change. And I am so thankful for you and the work that you do to support women because I'm the type of person that I want to address things holistically as much as I can help it. If it's possible, I would prefer to address it holistically. And that's why I am so thankful and thrilled that you have this resource for moms to be able to do that. I want you to share with me, like run through like maybe 10 symptoms that women may experience if their hormones are not balanced. One of them, like you said, painful periods, really bad mood swings. Go through some more. So women are like, oh, maybe this is me. This is maybe what I need.
Yeah. So there's lots of symptoms that are related to hormone imbalance. And then we're always asking why and looking deeper. And that's why we need the step by step. It's not just like, well, birth control would be the answer if it's just like you just need the hormones to even out. But it's not the answer because there's something going on underneath that's causing those hormones to be off. So painful periods are a huge one, irregular periods, heavy bleeding, fatigue is one. Mood changes in different parts of your cycle. So PMS week or even around ovulation, painful ovulation, spotting at weird times during your cycle, hormonal acne, breast tenderness. Those are some of the main symptoms. And they typically would kind of like come and go during your cycle if they are related to estrogen and progesterone because those change so much during your cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad you said those because I think that will be helpful for women to recognize if they actually have hormones that are a little bit out of whack and it needs to be addressed. So tell me three maybe like main things that really throws off hormones for women.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I definitely will. So the three main things that I see are stress is a big one. And I know you talk about stress a lot. I'm not just talking about like your life is stressful, you have a lot of kids, you have a job, like those stressors are very valid and they do affect your hormones. And there's so much more to it. When you are not balancing your blood sugar, that's a really big trigger for your hormones. And this matters not just if you are diabetic or if you are pre-diabetic or if you have diabetes in your family. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making sure that you are eating well and consistently throughout the day so that your blood sugar can be balanced. Because when your blood sugar is not balanced, it's actually a huge stressor on your body. When your blood sugar drops low, it's a full-on medical emergency in your body, and your body is all hands on deck to save your life because every single cell in your body needs glucose to live. Your brain does, especially, but like every single cell in your body needs glucose. So when your blood sugar drops low because you had coffee for breakfast and then you ran around for 3 hours and then you didn't eat lunch or you ate like some raisins off your toddler's plate and you just keep thinking like, okay, well, it's probably good for me. I'll probably lose weight if I do this. And I like to be grumpy anyway. And I'll probably like eat something later when I pick up the kids from school, right? That's a huge stressor on your body. So first of all, if you drink coffee without breakfast, hit your foot on the gas pedal of your car with nothing in the tank and just kind of like peeled out high stress hormones all day long. And then you have these dips in blood sugar where your body is like, emergency, red alert, all hands on deck, has to spike some cortisol, stress hormone, to get that blood sugar back up quickly enough to keep you going forward. That's so much stress on your body. And so that's the kind of stress that I'm talking about, is not even just the emotional stress from running around all day, but the way your body is reacting because it's not fueled well. Maybe you haven't slept. Maybe you're using stimulants to keep yourself propped up, like caffeine. And just this like go, go, go lifestyle can be so hard on your hormones. So that's a really big one, along with blood sugar balance. And I have several resources for each of these things, but I do have a podcast mini course on blood sugar balance specifically, and we'll link to that because that's a really good place to start before you dive into the full Nourish Your Hormones course. It can get you like on the road, right? So blood sugar balance is huge. And then I also see a lot of issues with detoxification, and this can get in the weeds. We can make it really complicated, but essentially what it means is if your body is making hormones, maybe you've been on birth control month after month, whether you're on it now or not, you have, even if it's just your natural hormones, they need to be moved out of the body at the correct rate so that they aren't messing with your next cycle, essentially. And then we look at, if you're eating foods that are sprayed with pesticides and maybe, you're drinking water that has some contaminants in it. And like, there's just all these different ways you're using cleaning products that are not optimal for your hormones. There's just so many different things that we honestly can't get away from all of them, and that's okay. But we need to work on those detox pathways so that our body can move those things out and they don't become inflammatory. And so supporting detoxification is really important as a root cause for hormone issues, because essentially if you have, your body is a bathtub and you have a capacity for how many toxins you can hold and still feel well, and that bathtub is on and the drain is plugged, you're going to be in trouble at some point, whether that's today or 3 weeks from now or 3 months from now, there's going to be a problem. And so being able to support detox pathways is unplugging that drain. And then we also want to turn off the flow of water as much as possible, where we're bringing, less toxins into the body, but that's a huge trigger for hormone imbalance too, along with the stress and blood sugar.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that and just giving analogies. That's super, super helpful, because some stressors are out of our control and some stressors are in our control and we can do something about. And I'm glad that you were able to explain that. One last question. What is something that you want mamas to walk away with today if she is recognizing that she's struggling with hormone imbalances and she wants to do something about it? What would you tell her today?
Yeah. So I just want you, first of all, to be encouraged because you are in the right place at the right time. There is so much that you can do. Even if you have all of the symptoms that I mentioned and you're like, I'm drowning in hormone symptoms, you're in the right place. We can work on this. This is absolutely something I see turn around on a regular basis. So I just want to encourage you. It does not have to be overcomplicated. We take it one step at a time at your pace. And where I would want you to start is I want you to check in. Are you eating breakfast within 30 to 60 minutes of waking up in the morning? And is it real food? And does it hopefully have some carbs and some protein together, something that's balanced so that your body has real fuel to go on before you drink coffee? That would be the number one step that I have people come back to me all the time and be like, whoa, I'm a better mom. I feel better. I'm not crashing at 10 a.m. I'm not crashing at 3 p.m. I'm making better choices throughout the day. This is a step that, it sounds kind of like, okay, like, is that really going to do so much for me? But like, that would be where I start, because that starts to create safety in your body, which is what your body needs to make hormones.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing this. And I will send all the mamas to you that are struggling with hormone health
Thank you.
because you truly know what you're doing and you've been able to help so many women. And I've already referred clients to you and they're seeing good results. So I am really grateful for what you do. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, you're so welcome. This has been so fun for me. I could talk about hormones all day.
Just like I can talk about anger management and stress management too. So
Love that.
we are in the right field.
Yes.
If you're listening to this and you resonate with a lot of things that we talked about today, then there is hope for you. There is something that you can do about this. Leisha has a wonderful resource for you, a private podcast where you can learn how to balance your sugar levels, because that is one of the reasons that is contributing to your fatigue and feeling irritable. And if you are ready for further support and you want her to give you a step-by-step process and how to balance your hormones holistically and naturally, she has a coaching program called Nourish Your Hormones. And I have the link in the show notes for you to sign up and be part of that. I am part of that coaching program. I'm in it right now. And I want you to join as well if this is something that you're struggling with. I have referred clients to Leisha because it actually works really well when we work together alongside each other. One of my clients is doing both of the programs at the same time because she struggled a lot with negative mentality and mindset and just feeling irritable just to begin with, and also noticing a lot of irritability, frustration, and anger coming up during PMS. And so we are doing both programs at the same time for her, and she's seeing massive results and transformation. So if this is something that you need, the link is in the show notes for the private podcast about balancing your sugar levels. Also, the link is in the show notes to listen to Leisha's podcast, as well as the link is in the show notes for you to take the next step if you're ready to invest and have a step-by-step process and invest into Nourish Your Hormones. That is also in the show notes for you. My friend, thank you so much for showing up. I hope this episode served you and supported you well. And until next time. Hey mama, do you find yourself snapping over the smallest things, like spilled milk or constant whining, then feeling horrible afterwards? If you're tired of losing your temper and you want to show up with more patience, I have something for you. It's a free training called How to Be More Patient with Your Kids so you're not screaming over spilled milk. Inside, I'll walk you through 10 simple things you can start doing today to become a calmer, more Christ-like mom, even on the hard days. To get it for free, just leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and send a screenshot to hello@emotionallyhealthylegacy.com. Or if you'd rather skip the wait, you can grab it right now for just $27. The link is in the show notes. Let's help you become the peaceful, patient mom your kids need.